Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. Hope everyone is doing well today. Chrysanth, hello. Kate and Corey, welcome. Fantastic, sarcastic, welcome. It's been a while, but I'm really glad to be here. Hi everyone. Fantastic, sarcastic. Erudia needs to know how tall you are to make sure you are not a gnome. I am 6 feet 4 inches tall. Fantastic, sarcastic. That's a lie. I'm not 6 feet tall, as you can probably guess. Um, Can you guys hear me okay? Let's see. Let me check my microphone, make sure that's working okay. Let's do a little sound check. Maybe I just need to put this thing a little bit closer. Hello? Testing. Still low? I was also talking very quietly, so maybe that's what it was. Okay. Let me know if that's better. If I'm just talking a little louder. It's early morning, so I'm okay. Sounds good. Fantastic sarcastic. I'm 5'7". I'm slightly above average, but not fantastically above average. Um, so today we're going to keep working on book 2 cover. I wasn't really sure what we were going to do today, so I might leave it up to you guys. For the past couple weeks, I've actually been working on book 3. I can give you a little preview of that. I haven't entirely finished. I haven't entirely finished the roughs for that. I have to add the characters in, but you guys will be able to get a little preview of what we're going to do. So there's a little bit of glare. Let me see if I can fix this. Okay, so I do. I love puns. Puns are the best. It's the highest form of humor. Okay, so these are 2 concepts that I created for book 3, just to kind of catch you guys up on what I've been doing for the last couple weeks, alongside my other work. So the concept of this cover is that we have the monster is called a hairless kennel, and it's a giant. She actually, her name is Murmur, is a giant hairless sphinx cat-like creature about the size of an elephant, but she has kind of a humanoid face. And her power is that she can lure cats, dozens and dozens of cats, from miles away. They will feel the pull of the hairless kennel, and they will. And this hairless kennel lives in a cave, so they slowly die and become undead cats. And this hairless kennel is a bit of a hoarder. There's a bit of a hoarding situation going on here, but instead of hoarding Smaug like gold and jewels and rubies, they kind of tend to hoard junk like trinkets, like things your cat would steal. So, um, so this cover was set in a cave, and my challenge was to, I've been painting a lot of caves lately, so I wanted to do something really interesting. So I was looking at lots and lots of caves over the last couple of weeks, and there are a surprising amount of types of caves that look really freaking cool. I was strongly considering actually having a crystal cave, which is essentially a giant geode under the underground. There's there's a cave that exists like that. I think it's called something. It's in Mexico. That my Spanish escapes me right now, but something, the Cavern of Los Cristales or something like that. And it's just like a super, super interesting looking. And there's another one in somewhere in Eastern Europe that is basically a giant geode. But in the end, I decided it was that was a little bit too complex. It was gonna mess with the composition a bit, so I didn't do that. So we had two settings here. One was a cave that is based on a cave in Scotland. It's basalt column cave, where essentially you have magma a long time ago um, formed formed and cooled in columns, like up and down columns, and then like slowly eroded. So it looks really interesting. If you guys are interested, you can look up Fingal's Cave in Scotland. And the other one, which is this one, this is the one we're going to be going with, is a fairly normal looking cave, but it has kind of terraced steps, almost like a rice paddy. And those are caused by essentially like just eons and eons of water dripping and forming these step-like terraces, which look really interesting. So there are no characters here yet because I need to add them in, but that's what I've been working on. And anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So today we are going to work on book 2. Let's see. Fantastic Sarcastic. Do you actually know of a secret cave? Ah, I just got that. Very good. It's pretty underground. Very nice. Have any of you guys actually been caving? I have been caving twice, and I can actually say I don't feel the need to go caving again. I didn't think that I was claustrophobic until I found myself like on my belly, army crawling through a passage. Um, that was like a couple minutes long, and then I was like, ugh, I'm a creature of the light. I don't want to be underground. But it was a really cool experience. I'm glad I did it. I just don't feel the need to do it again. Okay, so yes, exactly, Chrysanth. This was in my more adventurous days, back when I was willing to try anything, jump out of airplanes, which I did twice. I'm not gonna do that again either. And go in caves. Very good experience. Won't be doing it again. Um, I guess I'm just risk averse now. Um, Anywho, so I thought it might be fun to do some portraits of our characters. So I've got a blank page here. Let's go over our characters again, actually. Last time we did some, I guess you could call them research sketches for our dragon, and we did some tree sketches as well. And I think this time it would be really cool to explore the characters and the creatures a little bit. So basically what I will do is I will doodle these characters in my own style. I haven't yet figured out their posture and positions yet. There's something I need to do before I do the final drawings for the characters in position, which is I need to take some photography. I have these little maquettes, these figurines, and I tend to play around with them a little bit. I'll pose them, I'll take photos, and then I'll kind of mock them up so I can get realistic a more realistic sense of how they will actually be in the setting. And in this particular one, they're going to be in a boat, so I'll need to figure that out. But we can do some portraits. We can take a look at their clothing, just get to know them a little bit better. And it might be kind of cool to explore this creature as well. This slimy, terrible, disgusting creature. It's called a Rudy Poo, and they're really funny and they're fun. So I think we can do that. Cajun Quarry. If you'd asked me like 20 years ago, I would have said yes. But I'm good. I'm good now. It's really funny. It's weird. Like when I went skydiving when I was like 18 or something, and like I had zero awareness of my own mortality whatsoever. So I was just like, yeah, let's go. And I strapped to a guy, and then I was up in the airplane and they opened the door, and when you go skydiving, you kind of like inch out towards the door. And then suddenly I looked out and I was like, oh crap, what have I done? And then I did it again after that. It was also really fun, but um I have since I've since gained much more perspective on mortality, and I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not an adrenaline junkie anymore. Fantastic, sarcastic. Thank you. I may or may not be a vampire. Um, all right. Would you guys prefer? I'll leave this up to you. Do you want to do pencil drawings, or we can try to do something in acrylic? We can actually do some painting today. That could be fun. I've got stuff set up here for both. Got my little acrylics here. Got everything set up, so I could do either. I'm kind of feeling the acrylics since we did pencils last time. Finger paints. I could do finger paints. I think it would be cool to do, let's see. I think it would be cool to do the acrylics because we've been doing pencils a lot, and so let's go ahead and do that. Okay. If you guys can't see very well, but I have my palette here. I'll just show you. I have glass palettes that I use for oil painting, but they're full of paint right now, so I actually just have this. It's like a wax paper kind of pull away palette. So I'm gonna get some. I'll just start out. I'll squeeze some black and some white. Actually, we'll start off. I'm going to do. I'm just gonna kind of do a wash and darken everything because I like to start on a dark background. The nice thing about acrylics is that they dry really fast, so I can layer very, very quickly. Got a little bit of glare. Let me see if I can fix that. Just have to move my lamp up a bit. That might just kind of be inevitable until the paint dries. So we're just gonna darken everything. Let it dry, and then I'll do another coat. Then I'll mix up a couple of grays, a couple of shades of gray. Maybe I'll mix up 50 shades of gray. Womp womp. Fantastic, sarcastic. Just keep them coming, man. Keep the puns coming. Oh, Cajun Corey, that's awesome. See, we're basically the opposite of me. Although I will admit, after we were flying, it was awesome. The best part of skydiving was when the tandem instructor released the parachute, and then you're just kind of floating down. And then when I was in free fall, I remember when we were in free fall, it was just pure adrenaline. It was like an endless cannonball dive into the pool. But the floating down and landing was pretty awesome. It was just that initial moment when you're staring out onto the earth, and you're like, or I was like, why would I want to jump out of a perfectly good plane? Yes, exactly. Fantastic, sarcastic. They call it dark deco. It's always been easier for me to start on a dark gray or a black background versus a light one. Sure, Rudai. Sure. Yeah, Cajun Corey. And there's also a really weird moment. It's really hard to describe, but it was a little, for me, it was like a bit of an optical illusion where there's a point when you're kind of close to the ground where, I don't know, my brain did something really weird, and it made the landscape, like everything in the landscape, look like it was miniature. I don't know if this phenomenon has a name, but it's like my brain could not process the perspective or how far off the ground I was. So it felt like I was hovering above like a set, like a movie set almost, that was miniature. I don't I don't know if you experienced that, but that happens sometimes. I don't know. It happened to me. I haven't talked to many other skydivers, people who've gone skydiving, so I don't know if this happens regularly. But it was kind of freaky. Okay. I'm actually let me see if I can hold up a second. If I can put this thing up a little bit, like move there, then I can get rid of some of the glare. Dark deco is actually a thing. It's how they did the Batman animated series in the 90s. Really? I actually don't know about this. Feel free to tell me more. All right, I'm gonna go. I've got a couple of references pulled up for our characters, and we'll dive into our characters a little bit here. So, we have. I might switch a bit. Hold on a second. I'm gonna switch to screen share, and I turned the sound off, so you guys are not gonna hear my music. It's just Skyrim. I'm listening to Skyrim OST today. Let's see. And then we can. Wow. So here are our characters. This guy is Kalian Lighthollow. I have the names written down. This is Kalian Lighthollow, and he's an elf. He's a white elf, or I guess you could say an albino. He's very pale. He probably requires a lot of sunblock, SPF 100, and he's really cool. This is Godwin. He's a cleric. We have this guy's name, I just looked it up. His name is nope. My memory fails. Erudia, please enlighten me. I know it's like a 2-syllable name. It's got some consonants in there. I do know he's the keeper of lost names. He's the keeper of lost names, and he has a vendetta against a tribe that killed his people. So he's a very cool character, very badass. And this is, I don't know how to pronounce his real name. It's called Rakash. We call him Nutmeg, and he's a mum. He's very cool. He's basically a roided up Groot, and I really like him. So maybe we can start with, I don't know, maybe we can start with him today. And and these are the Rudy Poos. Rudy Poos are a skittish, frightful species. They are easily startled, but will return in larger numbers. And when startled, they will shoot a disgusting slime from these orifices on their backs and just really, really piss off anybody who they happen to slime. So I think they're pretty funny. I'm kind of envisioning a kind of an ugly cute thing going on for them. So we can start with these guys. We can figure these guys out. We can do some portraits. I think that'd be fun. And if you guys, you know, just let me know. So let's see. Anybody you want to see first? Anybody we can kind of dive into first? I kind of like the mum. I think he's really cool. Maybe we can explore him a little bit. Or one of the Rudy Poos. First, I'm going to go ahead and start making my palette. So I'm going to squeeze out some white and some ivory black. And this is just not expensive acrylic. This is just Winsor & Newton Galleria. It's just what I use when I want to figure some stuff out. I actually used to do almost exclusive acrylic painting, especially when I was in college. But I've since switched over to oils. So I've got a couple of oil projects in the works because I've modified my style of painting significantly over the last couple of years. His name is Zirath. Thank you, Erudia. Zirath. Zirath, the keeper of lost names. I'll show you guys what I'm doing. This might be a little bit more interesting. All right. So I'm just gonna mix up like a spectrum of blacks and grays. And this is one of my preferred brushes. I really like, these are called angled shaders. They're really effective. I've got them in a couple different sizes. Got angled shaders. These are called round brushes. I've got these in a couple different sizes, and they're good for different things. So I guess start out with some pencil actually. Just kind of sketch. I'll do a really quick sketch for where I want this to go. So right now, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just doing a very quick gesture sketch, gesture drawing. For I'm starting with Nutmeg. He's our tree guy. This is super, super rough and quick, and I really just kind of want to explore him a little bit more, explore all of these characters a little bit more. And now I'm going to go in like in a middle gray, and I'm just going to start blocking out the shape of his head. Get his cheekbones in there. Let's just see where this goes, you guys. He's got no ears to speak of. But he does have very interesting antler-like formations. On his head. I'm going to switch over to my thin round so I can get a little bit more of these antler forms. The angled shaders are really good for blocking in large areas and big shapes, but the small rounds are better for finer shapes and details. He's got this, his face is almost mask-like. I think he's going to have a lot of very interesting texture. Let me adjust this anatomy a little bit. I think he's going to have a pretty thick neck because he's strong. He's super strong. You don't want to give him a skinny pencil neck. That will not do. Make his shoulders a bit broader. All right, cool. So we've got like a super basic shape blocked in. I'm gonna adjust that. Okay, now I'm going to take some black. I'm gonna do a little bit of a drawing. So I'm going to use this almost like a pencil, and I'm going to kind of map out where his features are. So I think we're going to do a little bit. Let me water this down. I'm going to water my acrylic down so it's almost like watercolor. So it's a little bit easier to sketch stuff out in, I think. And I actually don't mind. I'm going to treat this a little bit like a pencil, so I'm not going to care if there are some stray lines in there. Because I almost want to get a scowl, like an intense expression here. Right? This is the midline right here. Clavicle. Let me define that jaw a little bit. Fantastic, sarcastic. Yeah, sorry, I'm just I'm just talking to myself as I'm thinking. If there's anything you need me to explain, just have at it. I can go on about the art jargon indefinitely. Excuse me. This is also if I can get it if I can get a little bit nerdy for a minute. Um when you're developing an image, according to the great masters, one of the old masters style, there is a tendency to alternate adding in lights and darks and lights and darks. So what I've done here for this character is I've just kind of blocked out the basic shape in light. And now I'm going to add some shadows and some occlusions and a little bit of line work, like just kind of figure out where things are. I'm going to add that in dark, and then I'm gonna I'm going to go in again and add light in a white, and I'm just gonna alternate light and dark, and that is a very predictable way to build up a more progressively realistic image. So here, I'm going to imagine that. Let me get just paint this in light, just so we can kind of be aware. The lights, he's going to have an overhead light source like this. It's just going to be right above him. So I'm going to add some shadows right now, some very basic shadows and very basic occlusions. You guys are so nice. Thank you. And occlusions are very small areas where light, very tight spaces where light just doesn't reach. So things like crevices in the bark-like texture of his face would be an occlusion. A hole in your ear would be an occlusion. So I'm just going to add some very, very basic shadows here. I'm going to add some shadows around his eyes to insinuate the hollow of the eye socket. Come on, paint. Okay. And this is transparent, so I can still see the line work underneath. Let's add some shadows here. A little bit deeper here. I'm not working from reference, so this is guess. Some of these shadows are guesswork, educated guesswork, but still guesswork. The best thing would be to have some sort of a sculpture or reference if you're trying to paint a realistic image. Fantastic, sarcastic. Why did you start with gray? Does it help bring out the brown later? I think that these sketches are just going to be black and white. If you really wanted to, you could do transparent color glazes on top of it if you wanted to add some color. But yes, this is an old technique. It's called grisaille painting, and it's the underpainting. We paint in black and white. Just to nail the form and the values, and then we can just worry about color later. It's a way to manage the complexity of the image in a predictable way, and that's what I do with all my paintings. They start out in black and white or in brown and white. And then you only add color in the later stages. I'm going to add a little bit more texture. He's got some nostrils here. Some kind of a nostril. He doesn't quite have a nose like you'd expect. Not quite like a real nose, but it looks really cool. All right. Now I'm going to go on to the next stage. I'm going to go back in with white, and I'm going to imagine essentially how the light hits, how the light is hitting him a little bit more. So now let's actually, this is quite white. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of gray. So we're going lighter, but not bright white. I'm just going to go ahead and add these are his eyeballs, his eyes, which are glowing. So I'll make those brighter later. Hey Frost, welcome to the stream. Looks like he's got a branch growing out like this. Let's get that clavicle, his collarbone, let's get that modeled out a little bit more. Both sides. And he's got some interesting branch-like structures coming out. Actually, I think that's from his clavicle. Let's connect those. There we go. Yes, Frost, and we're working on Nutmeg today. We're actually going to see how many of these little mini portraits we can do in our 2-hour session. These are just exploratory sketches to get to know the characters a little bit better. Thank you, Fantastic Sarcastic. I really enjoyed working on that painting. And actually for that painting, the author gave me a shout out on Instagram as well. I was very excited to see that. It was actually that painting was for an assignment. I was doing a semester of Smart School, which is probably one of the best online art schools you can apply for. You can take classes from. All of the instructors are well-known working artists, like Donato Giancola, Dan DeSantos. So that painting, I think I forget who was my instructor for that one. It was a couple years ago, but I think that was from Dan's class. And we had the opportunity to work with the editor, or the art director for Tor Books. And they had us do a mock-up, like a mock book cover for an actual existing book. And I was really happy with how it came out. So thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So we've added some lighting, some preliminary lighting on the face. I feel like the nose, actually his nose needs like a little bit more definition. So let's get that. Let's get that in there. Maybe a little bit more jaw. And if I go too light, or if I over render a little bit, it's okay, because I'll just go back with a shadow to further refine. Yes, fantastic, sarcastic. There was a lot of detail. A lot of detail in that painting. All right, now I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna switch to, let's switch to a shadow. I'm gonna refine some of these shapes too. So I think I actually want this horn-like structure to curve a little bit more like this. And I'm going to add some, let's see, could add some form shadows, add some occlusions, which are those lines, those texture lines on the bark. We'll add some of those. And a little bit of a form shadow here where the nose is. And I'm actually going to knock his eyes down a bit as well. He looks like he has a little bit of a, let's see. I think we can actually knock this down too, give that a little bit more form. Bit more of an angle. And I'm gonna go in with my pure black because this neck is not very defined, so let's darken that a lot more. Okay. Let's switch to, I'm going to switch to my angled shader. Let me check on comments. I should pick Billionaire Bear next time. Is that a book? Yeah, Chrysanth. This might be why my eyesight is actually not the best. I do lean in very close and squint a lot. And also my I'm totally honest, my posture isn't all that great either. Probably because I do a lot of hunched over painting. just trying to get into that detail. It might be nice to switch to like a really big painting. Just to change my posture a little bit and just to get some very expressive work. So I am trying to figure out what my next step is. We'll work on this guy for a little bit more and then we can do another one. I'm going to go back to the shadows. I'm going to try to see where I've missed shadows. I think there would be a little bit here. And because this is so transparent, you know, it's I've really just watered these acrylics down so I'm not worried about really mucking anything up too much. We're going to have a form shadow here on the arm. So let's add that in. I think we can knock this down a little bit. Deeper shadow there. Oh, I see. Okay. So it's the kind of book that you read at night to yourself, late at night, when no one else is around. Cool, might just look it up. I want to get a little bit more detail. I'm not super happy with the face yet. Let's do one more round of this of shadow and light. I'll go in with some black let's get a little bit more detail in there. Don't worry, guys. I'm incorruptible. Like the vampire I am. I want to get some more wrinkles, or I guess it's actually bark texture. I want to get some a little bit more indication of the bark. But this one is let's see. I think you would have a bit more texture here too on the cheekbones. Let's see. Which character do you guys want me to do after this? Should I do maybe take a stab at the Rudy Poo? Or the Godwin, the cleric, the lizard guy? Let me know what you prefer. Too watery. Let's stop there. For the shadow, I want to move on because we're already past our halfway point today. So I'm gonna go in with a pure white this time. And we're going to get our last round of light. And I'll really try to get some of that tree texture with this round of white. We'll see how far we can get. This is a pretty small painting, so I don't have a super tiny brush, but we'll see what we can do. I need to water this down a little bit more. It's a bit too thick. And eyes do glow, so let's add that glow back in. Add that in. And insinuate a little bit, because if his eyes glow, it's going to be casting light on some of the structures around his eyes, which might be a little bit too much detail for this, but we'll try. We're going to get a little bit of eye glow here on the inside of this horn, this appendage. I think I actually need to do a little bit more of the neck down here as well. A little bit more white, and then I think you'll be done. And we can move on to the next guy. Fantastic, sarcastic votes for Godwin. Sure, we can try that. We can explore Godwin a little bit. Almost done. Little bit. He's a little bit off center there. I could take him further, but I think we should probably move on to another character. Sometimes I just want to keep on, you know, I just want to keep on messing with it and messing with it and messing with it. And then I'm actually at risk of overpainting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. All right, we can be done. This was a good first study. I think I probably could have gone to some more darks in there, some more shadows, but it's okay. We can just move on. So Godwin, let's actually, you guys, I'm gonna take a really quick break. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then we'll come back and do Godwin. Be right back. Okay, back. Fantastic Sarcastic says we should get Effie on one of Tabitha's art parties, but it would be super early. Oh yeah, my schedule is really weird. Also, what is Tabitha's art party? That sounds like a lot of fun. But my schedule is really weird and pretty condensed. So I do art when I can. I have 2 studio days a week. And the rest of the time is basically baby time. But I do love parties. So all right, I'm looking at Godwin's reference image now. He's pretty cool. We can start on his portrait. Let's see here. I think, let's see if I can get him in a 3/4 view. So I'm just going to super lightly sketch out. I'm going to super lightly sketch out just the base, his basic skull shape. Hairline, he's got He's got a pretty cool hairline, like a widow's peak almost. Cheekbone. And sometimes it's actually really helpful for me to draw the like allude to the skull underneath so I can just build on top of that. Friend of the channel who gets artists, streamers to do random drawing via dice rolls. That would be really fun. Yeah. If it's a pretty short stream, that could be something that I can do, that I can pull off. All right, I'm drawing in the skull. Jawbone. See how that goes. Guys, if I'm totally honest, sometimes I don't know when I start something if it's gonna work. Sometimes it turns out looking awesome, sometimes it turns out looking terrible. Sometimes it looks great in my head, and then when I flip it in Photoshop, it looks insane. Of course, this is a traditional drawing, so I would just use a mirror, but that's kind of part of the gamble when you draw anything. Is this gonna look as good on paper as it does in my head? Let's find out. So I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll see. I've just sketched out a very, very rough skull shape. I just want to get everything centered because I'm doing this in 3/4 view, so he's not straight on. And then I want to give him kind of he's pretty masculine, so I want to give him a really manly jawline. Eyes. Sketch out the eyes in the eye socket. Sketch out the bottom of the nose. And funny thing is I'm going to cover this all with paint, but just doing the drawing first helps me to get it in my brain, get it in my mind. I think we're going to give him a little bit of a scowl, a tough look. He looks like a tough dude, so let's give him that. And I might even exaggerate. See if we can get almost like a little bit of caricature in there to exaggerate his features, make him extra manly. Let's see if I can pull that off. I know you guys can barely see that. um, it will come to, you guys will see it very, very shortly. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a kind of a light gray wash just to just to get his form. I'll I'll just draw over. I'll just paint over this pencil with a light gray. Water it down a bit. Okay. And we're just gonna obliterate this pencil work, but it's okay because I can draw it again. I kind of know where it is now. And I can actually use my brush to to do a little bit of loose brush work here. Let's see. This is his outfit. He's got a cool collar outfit thing going on. So, keep it loose. That's super. Okay, now I'll go in. I'll try to bring back some of that structure that I obliterated. Which is totally okay to do, you guys. I think one of the when I was a younger artist, one of the mistakes that I made was trying to be too careful with my paintings and trying to get it right on the first time. But it's actually much less effective than just doing it over again. Than just painting and repainting over your work and just trusting your brain to remember and refine with each pass. See, now I have to like it's actually much more interesting. It looks much more interesting when you can build, when these, when your image has kind of a built up look, there's so much more texture. I also, so I actually, I spent almost a decade as a graphic designer, incidentally, and I did a lot of really minimal work, so I'm kind of allergic to it now. Everybody wanted super minimal websites and super minimal logos, and all I really wanted to do was just add stuff to it. So basically what I'm doing now is the opposite of my work before. Thank you, Chrysanth. Yes, it's a little bit different. I can't quite get all of the texture and all of the strokes that I want to get with the brush, but I can use it a lot like a pencil. And a lot of that muscle memory works just as well. And yes, and I'm totally over the minimalism as well. It's what everybody wanted. They would say, "Could you just make the website look clean?" I did web design as well for a while. Could you just make it look clean? Like, okay, yeah, sure. Another clean website. Another super minimal logo, yeah. So, and not to knock it, there's still a lot that goes into making a really good logo. It's an art form in itself, for sure. But I just wanted to illustrate, so it wasn't for me. Okay, he's got a pretty high hairline. I just need to, let's figure out where those ears are. The bottom of the ear is usually aligned with the bottom of the nose. See. Well, I think your ear would be right around here. And if I'm wrong, I can change it. All right. There. Okay. I'm gonna get let me get some more shadows in here, and then we'll go on to the next. We'll go on to the next round of white. So I'm going to try to figure out. Let's add A little bit of dimension to his beard. This guy's pretty cool. I think let me switch over to my angled shader. Try to get some of those big sweeps of form shadow in. I'll add a little bit to the hair. I think this is where your ear is. Some shadow. I'll add a little shadow under his cheekbone. Let me find that. Oh, fill in the hollows of the eyes. That's very important. Humble. Right. Now I'm going to go in with pure white. And we'll add some light. So start with the bridge of his nose. Water down this white a little bit more. Sometimes the paint is too thick and I can't quite get those thin lines I want. I'm gonna add some cheekbone. Highlighted the cheekbone. Let's add some eyebrow. A little highlight on the brow bone here because he's also kind of lit by above. I'm going to paint in the eyes, which are always kind of tricky because eyes are very sensitive to bad positioning, if that makes sense. So I'm going to, let's just give him a little kind of a sideways look. And these eyes are actually too bright because they should be in shadow, and I'm painting this in a bright white. But I can always knock them down a little bit more. I think Godwin's gonna have a little bit of a pouch under his eyes. Look, a little bit of a bags under his eyes because he's a bit older. Or is he? I don't know. Let's highlight forehead. Now let's get some white in the beard. I think fantastic, sarcastic. I think he's probably, I would say, it's hard because facial hair kind of ages a man, makes him look a little bit older. So he could be in his late 20s, early 30s, or he could be in his late 30s. Hard to tell. Let's get some more brow in there. Highlights on the hair. Going to touch up his collar. A little bit. And then I'll add some more shadows. Do our next round. Let's knock that back. I'm just checking his anatomy now, because sometimes things get a little bit out of whack, you know? I think he needs a little bit more beard going this way, actually. Yeah. His beard was making him look uneven. And this area here is a little bit empty. So let's just add some more color. All right. We have about 10 minutes. It's okay if we go a little bit over. I do want to finish him up a little bit. So I'm going to go now in black. First thing I have to do is bring some shadows back to his eyes because they're a little bit bright. A little bit. So I'll just knock this down again with a little bit of this. And he's gonna have a shadow under his nose. I think he needs more of a shadow here on the temple. Form shadow. I'm gonna add some light form shadows back to his hair. Right, because some of these tendrils are covering the others. So let's knock those down a bit more. Even on the beard down here. And also, I noticed this area by the forehead was a little bit unclear. I don't think it should be that brightly lit. Let's knock that down a bit. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with pure black and we're going to add some detail to his eyes, his nose. And let's darken those up a lot. nostril. And then some shadows, some more shadows under the eyebrows, or in the eyebrows. Give that a little bit more definition. There's definitely, in every painting, there's always an awkward stage where it might not look right, or it just might look a little bit weird because stuff is missing. And for me, this was right before this stage, before adding the some of those final details around the eyes, the nostrils. It just looked a little bit too soft. Let's darken this area here and there. And if it's a big painting, there's a big awkward stage. It can be very discouraging unless you just know all I have to do is push through this awkward stage and it will look awesome again. Let's get some. I want to darken those eyes even more, actually. Fantastic, sarcastic. It's okay. I know how that feels too. Sometimes, sometimes I'll start a painting and it just doesn't work. The whole thing from start to finish is a total fail. And even though I've been doing this such a long time, I don't have those moments as much anymore, but they still happen. And they tend to happen usually when I'm trying to try something new, when I'm deviating from my well-established process. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, well, what if I tried painting without an underpainting? Let's see how that goes. And then it could yield some really awesome results, or it could be a total fail. That happens. Add a little bit of white here. Let's see. And a little bit of texture to the forehead. His forehead looks a bit flat. We got a couple minutes, but I think we can do it. How old is Godwin, by the way? He's mid to late 20s. R. Frost, so that's pretty canon. He's mid to late 20s. So we won't exaggerate any forehead wrinkles on him. All right. Let's hold those two up then. I think we did pretty well. We got 2 portraits done today. I just got it, Fantastic Sarcastic. Yeah. 36 would be a much funnier age. So here we are. We have some acrylic portraits of Godwin and Nutmeg. Let's hold those up a little bit higher so you guys can see. There we go. R. Frost says he was a young potter before the mysterious wedding guests put him on his new path of being the scion of the dead goddess Senna. Cool. All right. I think we'll finish here today, everyone. Thanks for joining me again. This was really fun. It was really fun to try some traditional painting on stream with you. This is actually the first time I've done it. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a line. And our next stream will be in a couple of weeks. So I will, now that I'm just about finished on the book 3 rough, I'm going to get back to working on the book 2 cover in earnest for the next couple of weeks. So after I finish a couple more of these research sketches, I will be starting the final underdrawing. So hopefully by the next stream we can do a little bit of that. That'll be my goal. So you guys can we can do that stage together. And then after the underdrawing, we will go to the underpainting and then painting. It'll take a while, but you know, it's a journey. It's a journey, and I'm glad to do it with you guys. So okay, have a good rest of the week, everyone. It was really nice to do this again, and see you later.